One of the latest cases of the hunt for top-secret aircraft is considered to be the events that happened in April 2016. Then the newest American aircraft, the fifth-generation F-35, crashed in the Pacific Ocean. He disappeared from the radar screen, not far from the coast of Japan, and this place was theoretically quite accessible to Russian or Chinese ships. The United States and Japan reacted to these events instantly, sending an entire search squadron to the area. The fact is that this fighter is still considered one of the latest developments by Lockheed Martin. It is equipped with a large amount of secret equipment and the latest weapons systems, so the United States could not allow representatives of Russia or China to be the first to get to the scene of the disaster. The American destroyer Statham, specializing in detecting submarines, was the first to move to the crash site. Then it was joined by the famous U-2 reconnaissance officers. Their duties included monitoring surface vessels, and they were also joined by the R-8 aircraft, a hunter of enemy boats. According to British experts Justin Bronco and Tom Moore, several elements of the fighter were of most interest to the Russian and Chinese intelligence services. First of all, this is the propulsion system, sonar, and radar equipment. Even if they were severely damaged as a result of the fall, this would be a serious leak of information, because both Russia and China today have all the capabilities to restore them. After the end of World War II, the winners decided on open skies, which allowed the Allies to carry out inspection flights on the territory of these countries, but in 1955, after Nikita Khrushchev came to power, the Soviet Union abandoned this doctrine. This forced the United States to begin developing reconnaissance aircraft capable of ultra-high flights. The U-2, created by Lockheed Martin, is still considered one of the most successful developments in this area. This secret hunter is capable of patrolling at an altitude of up to 20 kilometers. At that time such a height was inaccessible to Soviet air defense systems. Already in 1956, the first flight of this reconnaissance aircraft was made over the territory of the Soviet Union. In total, about 20 such raids were recorded. All of them took place outside the USSR air defense coverage area. Thanks to unique photographic equipment, the Americans managed to obtain images of the Baikonur Cosmodrome, the Semipalatinsk nuclear research site, and the Kapustin Yar Space Center. However, in May 1960, the U-2 was shot down by advanced Soviet air defense systems, and pilot Powers was detained. The wreckage of the spy plane fell into the hands of Soviet aviation experts. Initially, our designers tried to create an exact copy of the U-2, but the plane was badly damaged, and this attempt was unsuccessful. However, the efforts of our specialists were not in vain. Based on these developments, in the 60s, work began on the creation of the M-17 Stratosphere Interceptor and the M-55 Heliophysics reconnaissance aircraft. However, the first flight tests ended in failure. The Flight Commission found that the cause of the plane's crash was the pilot's incorrect actions. As a result, work on the creation of a prototype was continued, and in 1982 a second version appeared. It was manufactured at the aircraft plant in Smolensk and passed successful flight tests. Despite the fact that the model was equipped with only one turbojet power plant, it showed outstanding results. This aircraft holds 25 world records in various fields of aviation activity. For a long time, the F-117, the Nighthawk, was considered a unique development of Lockheed Martin. It had a reputation as an invisible aircraft that even one air defense system could not detect. The plane was actively used during the Yugoslav War in the late 90s of the last century, but on March 27, 1999, 40 kilometers from Belgrade, a real tragedy happened for the United States. The plane, invisible to air defense, was shot down by a simple, outdated Soviet S-125 system, which was then in service with the Serbian army. The developers of the Nighthawk tried to find excuses for this disaster, putting forward versions from the destruction of the aircraft by a secret Russian air defense system to an air attack by missiles from a MiG-29 fighter. However, the Serbian Minister of Defense, Bulatović, already at the beginning of the 2000s, made an explanation, According to his information, the F-117 was shot down by an improved Neva missile, but still from the S-125 complex, which indicates the excellent training of the Yugoslav missilemen. Most of the equipment, weapons, and protective coating in the Nighthawk were transferred by the Russian intelligence service, thus Russian designers received at their disposal unique samples, equipment, and weapons related to secret American developments. Intelligence agencies around the world would like to have at their disposal the developments of leading aviation countries, because simple espionage or capture is much more economically profitable than many years of theoretical research. Israel also took advantage of this. In the 50s, in the hostile environment of the countries of the Arab world. In 1966 the Israeli intelligence service managed to obtain at its disposal the newest Soviet fighter MiG-21. This happened, by the way, immediately on the eve of the next Arab-Israeli war in 1967. By that time, in the early 60s, the most modern Soviet aircraft had already begun to be supplied to many countries in the Arab world. As practice had shown, in its flight and tactical characteristics it was superior not only to Israeli, but also to European and American fighters. It was no coincidence that the Israeli special services began a deliberate hunt for him. The special operation developed was codenamed Penicillin. The purpose of the operation was to seize the plane by hijacking. For this purpose it was supposed to recruit one of the pilots. And such a counter-believer was found. It turned out to be Iraqi Air Force pilot Munir Ridfa. Money played an important role in his recruitment. The pilot also set conditions for transporting his family to Israel and granting him Israeli citizenship. They agreed on an amount of £500,000. The pilot's family was taken to Israel at the end of July 1966. And on August 15, the pilot, during a scheduled duty, changed his route and landed on the territory of the State of Israel. Thus, the special services received the newest Soviet fighter, the MiG-21, and later it was transported to the United States for more detailed study. With the fall of the Soviet Union, prosperous times began for American and European intelligence agencies. Now they could literally get the most modern Soviet developments of recent years for just a penny of dollars. The sale of aviation secrets was carried out not so much by representatives of Russia, but by former countries of the socialist camp. This happened with the MiG-29 aircraft, which were sold to the United States in Hungary for a pittance as their contribution to the development of NATO. In 1997, Fraternal Moldova sold 21 MiG-29 fighters to the American representative, for only $40 million. Should we be surprised at the breakthrough of an American aircraft built in the 1990s?